I'll wait until it looks like everyone is connected to audio, and then we can kick things off.
Well, and I love the gallery view. I love seeing everybody's faces.
I know, it's so much nicer.
Yeah. I would love for people to put in their chat box like where they're zooming in from while we're waiting for everybody to log in.
Yeah, it looks like we just have a couple more people who are about to connect to audio.
Mm-hmm. No, Marietta, Augusta, Atlanta. I'm logging in from Decatur, Georgia, you guys, from my dining room. Fun. See another person from Decatur. Nice.
Yeah, all over.
Yeah.
All right, it looks like we saw.
Sorry, Kristen, can you put yourself on mute? There we go. Great.
Perfect. So I think most people are connected to audio. We're still waiting on a couple others, but thanks everyone for joining again today. Just a quick reminder, today your assignment from last week is due, and I will resend the link today after today's session, but we only have a few of you guys who have actually submitted that, so just wanted to make sure that I said that as a reminder. Also, if you guys have not submitted your resume, I will be following up with you. So just be aware of that. I'll just touch base with you, make sure that everything's going okay. And so today we have Agnes, who's going to talk about an elevator pitch. And again, your assignment will be to submit your elevator pitch a week from today, and I'll send the link for that after. But I'm going to pass it over to Agnes, and she can introduce herself. And Agnes, you can take it from here.
Thank you, Alexa. Nice to meet everybody virtually. And I know my bio was just shared with you through email, but if you'll allow me to quickly do a little bit of my elevator pitch, then we'll get started with an interactive presentation. Hopefully this will be painless. And so anyways, as Alexa said, I consider myself a connector of people, ideas, and resources. I have a public health and employer relations background, and currently I'm a senior career coach for the health, sustainability, and science community at Agnes Scott College, which is a small liberal arts college near Atlanta, Georgia. So for the past 5 years before my role there, I was at Emory, where I successfully grew their signature undergraduate human health program, and I helped increase the student enrollment by over 30%, and I also really helped launch a health and humanities initiative. So while at Rollins, I worked with public health industry experts, including the Georgia Department of Public Health, and I connected students to the End the HIV/AIDS campaign, and which collaborated with the Elton John AIDS Foundation. And I most recently helped place contact tracers for COVID-19 throughout the 18 health districts in Georgia. So I have experience as a hiring manager working with students, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. And I even worked on some scholarship selection committees, as well as I sat in on some faculty hiring processes. And I have also worked with recruiters and alumni on and employers in a broad range of areas from different sectors, including the Clarkson Community Health Center, Georgia Department of Public Health, Task Force for Global Health, Carter Center, and the CDC Workforce Development and Fellowship programs that really place students for like the Presidential Management Fellowship Program and the Epidemiology Intelligence Service. And I really love also working with consulting firms like Deloitte. And so I know their interview process, and I know how they do their first round interviews, second round interviews, and behavioral case interview processes. And part of it does include an elevator pitch. So I didn't time myself there, but I hope that was okay as a start. And I really, thank you, Alexa. And one of the things I would say too is I'm so excited to be part of Georgia Bio. Agnes Scott just joined as a member. And honestly, as I was thinking about it, up came a message, a post from Alexa on LinkedIn about the mentorship program. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was all aligning. And so that's how we got involved. And I was so excited that I'm here with you guys today. So in part, I just wanted to get started and get a feel of like how you all, think about the elevator pitch. Like, what are the like challenges and concerns that pop in your mind when you think about an elevator pitch, and just like throw it in the chat box. So hopefully we can address some of those things today or have a candid conversation about it. Okay. And while you're doing that, I'm going to pull up my presentation. And like I said, hopefully this will be fun. Okay. And let me know if you have any questions about this time. And I'm happy to share my, LinkedIn information later and to connect with you after this event.
And Agnes, so far in the chat, we have saying the right things and timing, have to use terms that many people, so many were coming in, right? I lost that one. Many people will understand. May need more than one. That's also a challenge. Correct wording to incorporate projects that this person has worked on, and then timing.
Oh yeah, all the important things there. Okay, sorry, that was my, so I'm sorry you're seeing all of my things on my screen now. And I've lost everybody's, I don't see everybody on the screen now, but okay, so it sounds like there are a lot of things about like the actual, like you said, timing of it. Some of the other things, Alexa, remind me, you just said like
timing and correct thing to say.
The correct thing to say, yeah. Those are all valid things. So hopefully we'll go through some of those. And it's funny because I almost named this the dreaded elevator pitch instead of crafting your elevator pitch. It's one of those, like tools that you need to just network and everything. But of course, it doesn't come naturally to everybody. And it's something that you work on. And everybody, I'm still working on mine today. So I want you to feel, I don't want you to feel anxious about it, okay? So, and knowing that, I'm going to actually start and start it off with a fun video. Everybody hear that okay?
The elevator pitch is your first step towards becoming a networking god. Hey, Mr. CEO, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you.
Ruben, right?
Yes.
Oh, I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Nice.
So,
nice.
What is it that you do then exactly?
Well, I like merge all my talents together and just give it out to the world, like all my stuff inside me. It's like a mixture of stuff. Like I'm a creative guy, people's person, obviously. I write a bit of comedy, I present, I get up stage, talk to people, and I just know together all my creative ideas and my whole teams. That's not an elevator pitch. That's the ramblings of an unprepared bitch. An elevator pitch is a sentence that sums up what you do so concisely that you can tell it in a space of your average elevator ride. If you were to write it down, it'd be about 140 characters, which is about a tweet. So, let's try that again, shall we? Hey, Mr. CEO, good to see you, sir. Good to see you.
Hi, Ruben, right?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, I've heard a lot of good things about you.
Okay, nice.
So, what is it you do then, actually?
I'm a presenter and a comic. I host live events and I make online comedy videos. And I'm also co-founder of individualism.co.uk, which is the UK's leading men's style blog.
Oh, excellent. We've got a few events coming up and we could do with your services. Have you got a card, haven't you?
I do. Yes, I do. There you go.
I'll be in touch.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day, mate. See? Preparation, it got me some potential work with the CEO of this whole company. Yeah.
Did you say a men's styling blog?
Remember, guys, your elevator pitch should be short and to the point, even if you do live on the 100th floor. You need to know exactly what you do, as you do not want to give people the wrong idea.
Okay, so how did everybody feel about that? Could everybody hear it okay? Okay, so I'm going to actually go into the rest of my slides now, but it's hard to just talk to a screen and not see you guys. So here we go. Okay. my next slides are not advancing here. Okay. So the goal of an elevator pitch is to really connect and create that first dialogue. And it's not really about, you have to really know what you're having the conversation about. Is it for a job interview? Is it for a grad school application? Is it for a fellowship or grant funding? Or is it just for a buy-in for an idea? Or is it just for general networking? If you know that you have in mind, then you can like structure what your elevator pitch will be. And really, you're trying to like briefly, concisely communicate who you are as a professional, and you need to be specific about that. So part of that is like what you are doing now, and we'll go into that more in the next slide. And then also what you hope to do. I think that's the area where most students or young professionals aren't sure about what they want to do for their next step. So then if you're unsure about it, then it's harder to articulate that to someone that you're meeting with. But really, it's the purpose of an elevator speech is to plant the seed for future opportunities. And the more seeds that you plant and the more you network, that creates even more opportunities for you. So, and the other really point of the elevator speech is to get to that second conversation or meeting. And I just wanted to point out, like, you really don't want to use it as an opportunity to get an internship or a job. It could be a little off-putting. You want to, you know, and it also depends though on how you were connected to this person to see what level of comfortability you have. And then also after the elevator pitch, you really just want to make future plans and check in and thank the listener for their time. So the next part of the elevator pitch is like, how do you structure it? How do you frame it? And I know one of the questions was like, what is the timing? And I don't know if you meant the literal timing or like, what's the best time to give an elevator pitch to somebody? And so really it's about having a compelling story that's in 20 to 60 seconds tops. And I know some people equate a elevator pitch to a tell me about yourself, which is usually like the first question in an interview. There's a little bit of a difference. And the tell me about yourself can be, you know, some people talk from 1 to 2 minutes. And I know with the sciences, because you're kind of distilling really complex information in what you do, that's also like an additional challenge. So that's something that you have to also keep in mind, making it like relatable to your audience. So you're going to have different versions of your story depending on your audience. So you're going to have to modify that story. And at the heart of it, you have to really think about what does the listener really care about? And it goes back to the context of what your conversation is or is taking place. So you have to be cognizant of your language, and it also is like your body language as well. And it depends on who you're addressing, as we said. So for me, my story is, you know, I'm a Vietnamese immigrant, and like when I'm addressing someone in my culture, it depends on like if I'm addressing someone that's my peer, someone that's older than me, someone that I'm working for, your language and everything in your pitch kind of changes as who you're talking with. So next is your backstory versus your background. So your background is really your resume, right? And so people will tune out if all you're doing is highlighting what's on your resume chronologically, you know, because it's, and so I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people do. They think when someone says, you know, tell me about yourself, why are you interested in this position if it's for an interview? I think that loses people's attention after going on for over 2 minutes or something. So really, you don't want to verbally run through your resume. So you really want to pick highlights from your professional experiences. So your backstory, it depends on your reason for the pitch. But for me, like I may talk more about my first generation experience or my global health field experience or working at a startup with a tech company. And so it depends on what the initial conversation is starting and what it's about. The other thing I wanted to point out is the structure of it is present. Like, what are you currently doing? Reach back in the past to pull 1 or 2 experiences from the past that's relevant to what you're talking about. And then you also want it to be future oriented, like an aspirational thing. So really, like, for your present, oh, what is your role now? And like specifically, what do you do? And can you list a few accomplishments? And one thing that could help you do that is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with a method called the SAR method. It's called situation, action, a result. Just like I shared with you, like when I worked at the human health program, I was able to grow it by 30% with student enrollments. Another way you could look at it is the PAR method, which is the problem, action, result. Say you worked in a research lab or a clinical lab and you found out that there's a problem with like one of the processes, and like you were able to like streamline it, and so everybody in your teammates were able to work effectively with that. So that's how you do your relevant experiences and your accomplishments. Now, if you don't have a lot of relevant experiences, you can talk more about transferable skills, and I will talk about that a little bit later. So really, one of the things is you also want to talk about your future, like what are your future goals and your aspirations? So for me, moving from Emory to Agnes Scott, where I am, I talked about, while I really enjoyed working with employer recruiters and partners, I miss working with students. And so that my current role allows me to work more with students. So that's how I was able to talk about what I'm doing now. Also your personal branding. I know we're not supposed to be like we're not supposed to be like market branders. That's not really our expertise or our wheelhouse in a lot of things, but you should be like aware of like what you bring to the table, how others perceive you. And one exercise you can do is ask your peers or your supervisors, if you're comfortable doing that, and say, what are like 1 or 2 words would you use to describe me or something, okay? And so for example, a summary label might be, excuse me for reading my notes. It could be, I'm a career coach or champion for myself. It could be, I'm a data scientist, and it could be also your aspirational thing of what you want to do. Or you might say, I'm a climate researcher or education consultant. Or I worked for someone who had her MD, PhD, and she branded herself as a physician scientist. Someone else might brand themselves like as a social entrepreneur, or even a philanthropist. There are so many different ways that we see ourselves and how we articulate ourselves to others. And again, you just want to also demonstrate your value and what you were able to do in your past roles, and just name those few accomplishments using that, very specific, what role did you do? And if you can quantify that as well as qualify it, that's perfect. So, and it's really about what can you offer the listener. So and as I said, if you don't have relevant experiences, in particular, you can talk about transferable skills, which might be like, are you like a big thinker, a visionary? Are you like to use your creative side? Or are you a logistics and operational management person? Or perhaps you're a project manager who thrives on tracking and advancing multiple projects. So that really is what I just wanted to share with you now. And we can actually, what they call, unpack everything that I just talked about. And I'm sorry if I was talking at you instead of with you. And I really do want this to be interactive. So knowing all of that, is there anything specific that I talked about in any of the areas you wanted to go over?
We do have a question in the chat, Agnes.
Sure.
And Jada asked, should the answer to tell me about yourself in an interview, should it be longer, or should it be, an elevator pitch length?
You know what? I think that first one, you really have to gauge like how they're reacting to you. I would say no more than 2 minutes. I actually have some examples in my later slides. I have done a deep dive on elevator pitches. I have things from some video examples for you, especially like in the sciences too. I think you practice it. You practice like a 15, 30-second one. And you also do like a longer minute and a half too. And it really, what will help is like, if you look at what that job is, their job description, and what they're looking for, skills, get out that highlighter and then just see what they're looking for, and then pull some examples from that. I think like a perfect time, as what I was like really researching, is about like a minute and a half or so. Yeah. But if you're making that first connection, like your elevator pitch can be verbal, but it also, think about it, like when you reach out to people on LinkedIn or two people are connecting you, that can be the short and sweet, like, I'm a young professional in the public health field. I really would, love what Georgia Bio is doing right now, that they have a great mentorship program. Would love to hear more about it, Alexa. Could we, meet up and talk, and so I could find out more, like what I'm interested in being a mentee. What are the requirements? That sort of thing.
Perfect. And that was the only question in the chat, but if anyone else has a question, feel free to unmute and ask.
Yeah. So do you want me to show an example of a elevator pitch? There's actually one that is pretty good on LinkedIn, and that's part of like one of the resources that I'll be sharing with you, okay?
Yeah, and actually we did get one more question in the chat.
Okay.
So it sounds like the elevator pitch is more about your skills and not your research. For example, PhD students would talk about the skills that they learned and not their projects.
You know what? Actually, it's a little bit of both. And I have an example of one, like some of the examples that I have, I found some great ones that it's about scientists talking about their research. And there's one that's a little bit longer. It's a 2-minute one about who they are and like what they're doing in their academic projects. And then there are some shorter ones. So I'll show you the examples. And I think that will maybe help kind of connect the dots for you, okay? Let me share. You know what? I think I will show you. I think I'm going to go straight into the science ones, because you can look up the LinkedIn ones yourself. Okay? Does that sound good? Okay. Sorry, I lost my. I have lost my, okay, that's okay. I can just get to it from here. I'm sorry, you guys, I lost my navigation bar. So that's why I have this as a backup. Is it not advancing? Okay, sorry. Here we go. Okay, so these, I just want to go real fast. These are things that I'm going to share with Alexa and Christina so that they can send this out through email for you. They're really great examples about, like, even from a recruiter standpoint, crafting your elevator pitch from career services. There's also a great resource for LinkedIn Learning. There's in the job section of LinkedIn Learning, if you go on LinkedIn Learning jobs, more interview prep, there are about 26 different questions that are like example questions and then example answers for you, which is really great. And that's like an open source thing. So you can take your time looking at that. There's also LinkedIn Learning courses too, but I'm not sure if these are open or if you actually have to have a LinkedIn Learning account. That's what I don't know. Okay, so here's the ones that are specific to scientists. I'm not going to go through some of these. You'll have these to look at your leisure. But what I want to do is like go through deconstructing the elevator pitch here, because these are like really great examples. Okay, sorry. So I'm not sure why that one didn't. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Bear with me, you guys. Are you seeing like this presentation view now? Alexa?
Your full web browser.
Okay,
With the
good.
presentation.
This is because I changed some of my links, so I just want to make sure that I have the right. Okay, so this is what you were just asking about, like a PhD talking about like their research. So this is like a 2-minute video I'm going to show you, okay?
Recently, it's been discovered that cancer can spread its mutations to nearby cells using little packages called exosomes. Since I started grad school, I've been interested in how cancer can shape its environment in order to sustain its growth. Just like people turning on air conditioning, cancer likes to adjust its surroundings to just the right amount, but it requires help from nearby cells to do so. By studying what happens when cancer's cellular neighbors uptake its mutations, we hope to explain how cancer so perfectly calibrates its environmental thermostat. After delivering mutations to supporting cells commonly intermingled within cancer, we observed it causes them to induce inflammation, which creates a comfortable atmosphere that allows cancer to grow and spread. Interestingly, we also figured out how cancer packages its mutations, which allows us to set up a spam filter that can sort out packages with mutations in them. This can turn off cancer's thermostat and expose it to harsh environmental conditions. Not only does this make it harder for cancer to grow, but also renders it more susceptible to drugs like chemotherapy. We're now targeting this process in mice using drugs that shut down cancer's ability to package its mutations. Once this is confirmed, we'll exploit cancer's exposure to its harsh environment and attack it with chemotherapy. I'm Michael McGuire, and this is my elevator speech.
So you guys, that he put together, and it was part of like a pitch competition at UCLA, probably took 10 hours to put together, you know, like all the background work that you need. It seems so like seamless and easy to do. It's not. A lot of even the LinkedIn learning classes that, you know, I spent 3 hours for that 20-second pitch in outlining everything that I want to say, you know. So it just takes practice. You just and like you're going to have different versions depending on who you're talking to. What you really, I think at this point in your career, it's also like what do you really want to get out of the conversation? That's the first thing you really have to ask yourself, right? Well, I speak more to personal branding, and actually there was a LinkedIn Learning course about that. Yeah. Personal branding is something about like how you view yourself and what things you highlight as your experiences. Just like when I first came on, like I say I'm a connector of people, ideas, and resources. Someone might say, like, I would say right now, let's do an exercise. Use 1 or 2 words that you would use to describe yourself. Put it in the chat box. And it could be like what you want to be or who you think you are right now. Anybody want to share? Creative, adaptable, nice, hardworking.
While everyone is doing that, I want to make sure that this question doesn't get lost. Yeah. Sai asked, should we focus more on what we hope to do in the elevator pitch as a job seeker as opposed to what we're actually doing?
I think the best way to approach that is, again, looking at like the role that's open. Because what you're really trying to do is saying that you have the qualifications to do that, you know, to be a competitive candidate. So you do want to focus on like what value would you be adding. That's also part of your personal brand, like not only like how you see yourself, how others see you, but also what are you bringing to the table? Like what you guys are saying, like you're a big picture thinker. Yeah, you're a scientist and advocate. That's wonderful. I think that's perfectly sums up what you're going to do, but then back up what you say with some specific examples. Okay, and there's on that some of the links that I shared with you, there's a recruiter talking about like he works with so many people like in the tech space, that's his space, right? And he says, you know, you should be specific. He goes, I'm in the tech startup space and I work specifically to place people in a high growth area, I think he says, right? And so he gives his little elevator pitch and he says, you know what, the one of the things that people, I think, in elevator pitches feel like mechanical and that they're not going to come off authentic. And they're worried that they're going to miss some important information that they prepared for, right? Everybody feels that way. And so one of the things that he said was, you know, if you hit 70% of what you wanted to say, you are like ahead of the game, because there are some people that don't even think about that, or like why they're interested in that organization or in that particular role. Okay, I'm just looking at more things. Bridging gaps, bio entrepreneur and advocate. I love that. Integrous and advocate. Very nice. I think those are really great branding questions. And there are some, you know, more resources out there about personal branding itself. I think that's like a whole nother workshop or webinar, don't you think, Alexa? Down the road, yeah. Okay, so would you guys like to see an example of like some shorter pitches? Because then there's one about like, I believe global health, and then one more in lines of like a researcher. It might be a faculty member talking about that. So let me show you the other ones too, because I think that might generate some more thoughts. Okay. Here I go, sharing my screen again. Gotta love technology. Everybody doing okay? Okay. Okay, now I know. Oh, sorry. It's there somewhere. There it is. Okay. What I want to do though is close this one out because, okay. So that was the who that we went through before. So here's another good one I'm going to show you.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha. I'm a graduate student at Virginia Commonwealth University. I'm in the Department of Pharmacotherapy and Outcome Science. And my overarching research goals are to improve health outcomes among underserved populations. So I'm working on a project right now that I'm really excited about, dealing with therapeutic lifestyle changes among homeless patients. So lifestyle changes like things like diet, exercise, smoking cessation. And I'm using a community engaged approach to identify barriers to TLC. And then based on feedback from patients, providers, social service workers, and other members of the community, I hope to develop interventions to facilitate TLC in these patients. So if this is something you're interested in, you can read more about it on my blog. I would love to hear your feedback, so please leave me a comment. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm at pharmacis with an underscore. And thanks for listening. I look forward to hearing from all of you. Bye.
So, oh, sorry. So what do you think about that one? That was shorter than the first one, right? And she was talking specifically about like what she's doing, what's her interest. And from there, she could use this in many ways. She could like modify it for a job and just like do the highlights of what she just said. She could talk a little bit more. She could quantify some of the things that she's doing if she wanted. And it really depends on your audience. And the more practice that you have, the more confident you're going to feel. Yeah. So let me see. So are you guys ready to see another one, or do you guys want to talk about some? Okay, I see yes. Okay. Okay, Alexa, I'm going to show some more. So Okay, let me go down. That one doesn't have a video, but the Y does. Hold on for a second. Oops, sorry.
What I'm working on is developing a therapy to promote wound healing in the brain after stroke. This is really important because if you're fortunate enough to survive a stroke, you're then looking at months and months of physical therapy and rest. And so what we want to do is deliver stem cells into the brain inside a jello-like material that will actually promote functional recovery and wound healing in the brain. And hopefully this will help the patient down the line and shorten his rehabilitation time. Thanks.
So I think that one was like 30 seconds. I think, oh, sorry. I think this is another one that would be helpful to see too.
Recently,
Oh, sorry, wrong one.
it's been discovered that cancer can spread its mutations to nearby.
Okay. This is the one.
My research is focused on how cancer genes may turn on stem cell-like properties in normal adult cells. I'm passionate about this project, not only because it has the potential to help us treat this devastating disease, but because it provides many training opportunities to Humboldt State University students. I've had over 60 undergraduates work on this project over the past 3 years, and many of them are now working in world-class research institutions with the support of our CIRM Bridges Training Grant. It's an honor to work on cancer research, but it's a true privilege to train the scientists of tomorrow.
So you guys, with that last one, what would you, oh good, I said that, oh, I'm glad you guys are enjoying this. What would you say is her personal brand, that last video that you saw? She was a mentor, yep. Training students, yep. She could be a science educator, is one of the things. And it depends, like, I mean, and if she were pitching to someone for grant funding, I think she would be like a science educator. Okay. Would be like a good label, okay.
A science educator, okay.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be me.
Yeah, who's that? Who said that? Yeah, this is really, you're going to be not just crafting your pitch, but crafting like your whole professional narrative. Your pitch is just a small part of it. I don't want you to feel like if you don't have that perfected, that you can't have a conversation with somebody. That's not the point of it. It's just to, this is just to share with you the way people, especially scientists in this area, how are they explaining their complex information to someone, like to an audience that would understand and get it, right? Okay. So are there any other questions about what you saw, what you heard? I saw that, do you have any suggestions on what to do if we don't have a clear idea of what we want to do? Yeah, it's totally okay to say you're exploring options. I think, you can say if you're a graduate student and you're saying, I'm looking to use, what I've studied and my background to explore the area, say it's in like global climate change. And and make sure you research the organization very well. You say, and I saw that you're doing really great things in this field, specifically on this project. I could really see myself. And I also see that you have a great professional development training program in your organization. So I would love to talk to you more about what you're looking for in candidates who are applying for this job. And you can say, and if you don't have like relevant work experience, you can say, in my, my lab, or I have worked with my team on doing these certain lab skills. You can mention your clinical research or your lab skills. And then you can say, and I hope to learn more about XYZ, what they maybe described in their job description or something. They're pretty much giving you what they're looking for, right? And you're just repeating back in a succinct, concise way what you would be adding to it. Yeah, I think it's important to identify what you like about the company, or work, and align your skills and experiences. And I would even add your value. Like you heard probably like where it's like your value proposition, that kind of goes with your personal branding too. Like, what do you value? Are they doing really great work? I work with so many students now that say, I really want to work for someone that means something, the company that, you know, does great work. And so that's something that they, as you know, as you have your personal branding, the company has their own branding. You hear it all the time. Like when I'm listening to NPR in the morning, I hear, you know, like they'll do the little blurb, like sponsored by this, and then they brand themselves. What exactly are they? You know, what type of company? So is there any other thoughts about that? So what I can do is just go quickly over the learning resources that people can explore. Is that okay, Alexa? Does everybody want to do that? Okay. And okay, and I just found out what TLDR means. Does anybody know what that means? I just found out. It means too long didn't read. So as I was going through some of these things, I actually had to look it up. What does TLDR mean? So I have done some of the research for you. I've really dug deep for all elevator pitches, for science-based ones. And so I'm hoping that this will be an antithesis to TLDR for you, okay? All right, I'm gonna just quickly show you what that is, okay. We all have limited time. I know you guys are busy. Oh, sorry, it'll be going backwards here. Okay. So here, this is the recruiter I was telling you about. Although he's talking about the tech space, you can see how it would just relate on like a recruiter mindset, what they're looking for in a candidate. This one, this is about like 2 minutes. The crafting your elevator pitch, this is about 10 minutes, but it's really worth doing. I looked at a lot of like information from schools, and I think this one was the best one here. The tell me about yourself, same thing. Would you guys want to see this video? It's 52 seconds. I think it's worth seeing. And then you can also look up like the other types of questions that are on LinkedIn. Let me just show you this one. And so basically, you guys, I'm going to show you. So if right here, this is where you would find this. If you go under jobs and you go under more, see the interview prep? This is where you'll see these 26 common questions, and you can see the answers there. So the first one is the tell me about yourself, which is the closest to, like I said, the pitch. So hold on. So here it is.
Let's see how a job candidate might approach this question, and then I'll follow up in a minute with some detailed feedback.
Well, from a very early age, I've been a problem solver. I was that kid who would take apart anything so I could see how it worked and then try to put it back together. As you can imagine, it drove my parents nuts. But even though I tortured my family at times, the tinkering trait has served me well in my career. After graduating from Purdue, I was recruited into a field technician job and got paid to take apart broken packaging equipment. It was like living the dream. That job also made me realize that I'm really good with difficult customers, and that's what helped me land my current account manager role. While I love my job and have been successful in it, it's moved me away from the manufacturing floor. Now, the reason I'm so interested in this position is that it seems to provide a really great blend of one-on-one work with clients and hands-on problem solving.
I love this answer. You drew me into your story. I've got this vivid image of your childhood home and your family toaster in a bunch of pieces just as your mom's walking in to make breakfast. You also picked two prominent required skills from the job description, problem solving and customer service, and you built this interesting narrative around it. I'm also able to see a successful career evolution along with an answer to why do you want to work here before you've even been asked. All around, this answer is a winner.
Remember, you guys, that answer didn't happen overnight. It took a while to get to that point, okay? So don't be so hard on yourself. So the other things, again, I'm not sure if these courses are available if you have LinkedIn Learning or not. So I'm sorry if you need a subscription to see these, but I do want to show you these. This is about like making science a little bit more understandable to the public. And they have really great resources at the Hive at TEDMed. So I would definitely take a look at their site and see what else they have on there. There's a networking for scientists. This is like a more animated video, which is it's interesting. It brings a lot of the same things that I heard from the LinkedIn Learning courses, and then also did some research on the other resources, and it kind of compiles some information there. Same thing, presenting your research and conversation. Okay, this one is a little bit of a dull, I don't want to say dull, but it's a presentation style with slides, but they did have some good things to say there. Science pitch, same thing. This is like a 30-second pitch, probably someone a little bit more advanced in her career and talking about what she does for her work in cancer. So then, and how to write a PhD elevator pitch. This is something, I believe it's like a Dutch site. It's in the Dutch language, but it kind of breaks down like how would you write it? And I would say start with bullet points and then practice it, because you don't want to seem too rehearsed, and then you'll have like the agility, adaptability to pinpoint and like really talk about the things that you think are going to be most important for either the job or grant funding or whatever opportunity is in front of you. Okay, and this is the deconstructing the elevator pitch. These are all the different videos that I showed you on that were varying lengths about what the current students were doing in their work. Okay, so all of those resources will be shared with you so that you don't have the too long reading. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Agnes.
Sure.
Does anyone have any final questions or even thoughts?
It can be any thoughts. It could be something related professionally or something that'll be coming down the road. Honestly, this workshop series that they put together for you is really great. You're going to see how it kind of like connects to each other, like you did your resume. And I just actually did a resume workshop for the science students at Agnes Scott. And then bridging that is like your elevator pitch. And then what are you actually using it for too? And one of the things I really want to point out, when you're talking with somebody, connect the dots for them. Like, what are you doing now? What did you do in the past? How does it relate to what you want to do in the future? Because I think that sometimes when people reach out on LinkedIn, one of the LinkedIn Learning courses, I think, talked about that, where it's like, they're reaching out to me, but I don't know their ask. What are they asking me for? And it's just, sometimes it's just to start the conversation because you saw them on LinkedIn and you saw that, it sounds like something that you would like to do in the future, right? And it could just be that, but they're not sure if you're like asking for a job or a connection or something. Or you can also say, like for me with Alexa, I would say, oh, Alexa and I have a mutual friend. Alexa, I'd love you to meet Megan, you guys would have so much in common. You both are interested in health and technology, and you're both Rollins alumni, and there you go. And then they start that conversation.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that actually goes into Sai's question. What you were saying earlier, you said, how do you hint that you're looking for a job in your pitch?
Yeah, you can say, and here's the way you can say it, instead of saying, do you have an internship or a job for me right now? You can say, after you tell them about yourself and what you're doing and what your hopeful, career goals are, you can say, if an opportunity would come up in the future, if you think I would love for you to consider me, I would love to, I love what your organization's doing. You can also say, if you think if there are other people you think I should be talking to, connecting to, and if you can make that introduction, that would be really wonderful. And you end it, and you sign out. And you're like, okay, elevator pitch done.
Perfect. All right. Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions or comments. No, we do, Justice.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I always like to wrap up with this question. Is there something you wish that one of us would have asked you today that you've just been wanting to share with someone?
Oh, what have I been wanting to share? That's a really good question. You know what? It's funny. All this information looks like, oh, it was easy to know. I actually had to use my research skills and investigative skills. Like how did you come up with this information? I would not consider myself an expert as an elevator pitch person, but I really love career development. And part of it is part of my story. I stayed at home for 10 years with my kids, and then I had to relaunch my career. And I was more interested, although I have a public health degree, I was really interested in the career development part. Mm-hmm. And so I learned that for myself. And I didn't have a career development background to do what I did at Emory and here, but all of it was just learning, and I was able to pitch my transferable skills. I'm good with people. I make the connections really fast. I can, I know a bunch of people living in Decatur for 14 years. I have a lot of connections. That is how I did it. So that was a really great question. Yeah. And then I'm connecting the dots about how I could do this job.
Yes.
Or get that information to you.
That was a great answer.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, Agnes, I think you've brought up a really good point that it's not easy. This doesn't happen overnight. But your elevator pitch is something that's extremely important. So anyone that you meet, and especially as you start networking more and more, you need to be able to have an elevator pitch and be able to introduce yourself in a concise way that makes sense to people and really connect those dots. But yeah, that's something that will happen consistently. So you'll craft it every time, and you'll learn what works and what doesn't work. And it's a little bit of trial and error in it as well.
So Alexa, I want to bring up one thing, especially since we're working in the virtual space. I did put in a link to like how to be like have executive presence on a video conference and everything. And because one of the things I forgot to say is, it's your verbal and nonverbal cues. It's something like 93% of your communication is nonverbal. And like we're in this world where we're communicating all virtually, right? So I have to give you a funny example. I had a client meeting the other day, and my cat was getting into something in the corner. You might have heard her earlier. And so part of me, my eyes were like this. I was like, oh, she's gonna get into that. And then at one point he said to me, do you need to take care of something? And I was embarrassed because I was like, oh, I was trying to play it cool. But in the meantime, my cat might be getting into something she's not supposed to. But he was so, understanding, and we laughed about it. And then actually during our call, someone was at his door and he had to go and grab, someone's door. So in this moment, everybody realizes that we're all human and we're all just gonna, and some of those nonverbal cues that you would be like some people are really good in person and everything. And then sometimes people who are more introverted are actually able to speak out more, like during class or during things. So I think there's advantages and disadvantages in what we're experiencing now. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I just thank you so much for having me and letting me join you today. I look forward to continuing the conversation because that's the elevator pitch. The point is to get it to the next conversation. So look me up on LinkedIn. Let me put it over here. This is, I don't have my LinkedIn handle here, but this is my name. And I'm happy to connect with you.
Thank you so much, Agnes. And everyone, I will be sending you links to submit assignments. So a reminder, last week's is due today, and then you'll get the link for this week's as well. But be thinking about what you want to incorporate in your elevator pitch, because that will be your assignment for this week. So thank you, everybody.
And Alexa, I'll get you the information that you need, you or Christina. And I love the word plethora. So shout out to Ivory. Love it. And thank you so much, you guys, and good luck. I know you guys can do your elevator pitch. Don't worry about getting it perfect the first time. Write out your bullet points just like you do for any of your classes, and think about it that way. And think it's a really good self-awareness exercise. Okay?
Thanks, Agnes. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Bye, you guys.